Hi, John. Hi, Jill.
Afternoon or evening.
Hi, John. Hi, Jill.
Hello, can you hear me? Evening.
Hi. Yeah, we've got you. Just waiting.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, certainly can. Yeah, we've got you. Just waiting. Yeah, certainly can. Yeah, we've got you. Just waiting. Yeah, certainly can. Has someone got it on in the background on a TV or something? Is someone at home? Has someone got it on in the background on TV or something?
No, I just think the sound's very delayed at the moment.
All right. Is someone at home? Got it on in the background?
Because that's about the third time I've heard. No, I just think the sound's very delayed at the moment.
All right. Is someone at home?
Because that's about the third time I've heard. I just think the sound's very delayed.
Not sure what's happening.
I might try leave and rejoin, see if it makes any difference.
Yeah. Not sure what's happening.
I might try leave and rejoin.
The haircut. Am I on mute?
No, you're not on mute. The haircut.
Am I on mute?
No, I'm not sure what's happening on the system.
Am I on mute?
It seems to be we're getting a lot of bounce. I'm not sure what's happening on the system. I'm hoping it will settle down. It seems to be we're getting a lot of bounce.
Is it worth trying to restart the meeting from your end?
Hoping it will settle down. I can try and.
Is it worth trying to restart the meeting from your end?
I can try, but I would have to reset everything if I do this. I can try, but I would have to reset everything if I do this.
Oh. Ah, there I am.
Yep. Not sure.
Ah, there I am.
Yep. We seem to get it 3 times.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to work.
Not sure.
There I am.
Yep. Seem to get it 3 times. Yeah. Not sure.
Evening.
Good evening, Martin.
How you doing?
I'm all right. You might know, have you ever had the issue with Zoom where it's bouncing around 3 times with your voice in the background?
Sounds like feedback to me, but
Yeah,
I just wondered if someone else's speakers are on as well, because that's usually when you hear other people's speaker, you get that kind of bounce back across all the people who are listening to you at the same time.
yeah.
I wondered if someone else's speakers are on as well, because that's usually when you hear other people's speaker, you get that kind of bounce back across all the people who are listening to you at the same time.
Yeah.
That sounds like you've got a different issue though, Pia.
Yeah. I'm going to try.
Sounds like you've got a different issue though, Pia.
What I'm going to try and do is go on to give Francis hosting and then knock myself out of this. What I'm going to try and do is go on to give Francis hosting and then knock myself out of this. Right, Francis, you should have hosting now.
Oh, you got your name up there.
Francis, you got hosting? Francis, you should have hosting now.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah. I'm going to come out of it, then come back into it, all right?
Okay.
See if it's my system.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to come out of it, then come back into it, all right?
Okay.
See if it's my system.
Well, that seems to have improved it.
I'll see that.
Huh?
All right.
Right. All that repetition's gone, isn't it?
Believe so.
Yeah. You think that was Peter problem?
Problem.
Hi, Mark.
Evening. Don't look at that off my keyboard.
Okay.
No.
All right. So hopefully we're all up and running now.
Ain't many there.
Yeah. Yeah. It was on my system. When we're using the YouTube to make sure it was live. I'm just going to double check that we are getting it live on YouTube. Then we'll go into the meeting.
Francis, can you hear Peter okay here?
Yeah, I can.
It's under my name because it's my Zoom
Yeah.
screen. But it's
Yeah, that's fine. That's
That's
brilliant.
fine.
And I can hear you.
okay.
Right. Let's just double check this. Come on. All right. For some reason, this is not recording. So what I'm going to have to do is, it's not going out live. Oh, hold on.
Francis, can
Yes,
you
it
hear
is.
Peter okay
It's
here?
going out live.
Yeah, I can.
It's under my name because it's
Yep, that's all okay now. So that's all working. Okay. Good evening, everyone. I'll get the meeting started now. Been a few little technical bits and pieces to go on. We're first thing on the agenda is any apologies. We've got one person who fortunately will no longer be with us. Mike has resigned from the parish council on personal grounds, so he'll no longer be joining us for meetings. We have got no other apologies. Have you heard anything from Margaret Dewsbury?
Yeah, Margaret can't make. She's got Wicklewood,
Yep.
Peter, so she won't be coming along
Yep.
This evening.
That's no problems at all. Okay. Following on, do we have any declarations of interest?
Yeah.
Yep. Same
Um,
as last month?
It is, but I'd like to also request dispensation on item 13.1, the planning application 2020-0762. I'm asking for dispensation from the council to take part in discussions only for the interest of persons living in the village.
I don't have any objections to that. Does anyone else have any comments they want to make? No? Everyone, just stick your hands up if you're in favour.
Yeah.
Yep, unanimous. Okay, right. Let's moving on from that. Receive and approve the minutes of the meeting of the 6th of July. Hopefully you've all had a chance to read them. Thank you, Francis, for getting them done so precisely. Anyone got any comments? Anything they want to adjust? No, everyone happy?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, so I need a proposer, please.
Yeah, I'll propose.
Seconder, please.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favour, hands, show of hands.
Thank you.
Okay, unanimous. Okay, matters arising from the minutes not on the agenda elsewhere for information only. Just so you know, it'll move on to point 6, but I'll cover this now. I submitted a reply with regard to the Persimmons application. What's been interesting, it's also been noted within the lead local flood agency's response, which was requiring an awful lot of information and reports from them. It's also going to be in Norfolk County Highways response, and the design officer for South Norfolk has also mentioned it in his response. So it has been acknowledged in a number of organisations. Okay, so what we can do is adjournment for public consultation. Does anyone want to say anything? Okay.
Have
You
we
need
got,
to
have we got
unmute.
Peter, did you want to say anything? Or are you listening?
He needs to unmute. I can't do it for him.
Right, you unmuted, Peter.
All this, sorry.
Yep.
Yep, we can hear you now.
Okay.
All I was going to ask about first was the planning, what you've just talked about up the with Fitzsimmons. How will this local plan be affected by the new planning regs, what they're supposedly introducing?
They haven't introduced them. So until we actually hear what they are, it's only supposition.
Right.
So there's nothing that we can say on them because we've got no actual facts. The main comments that have been made are all on grounds of safety, on lead local flood. They're all consultees which have a say into any planning application. So I think at this stage, until we know what the government's actually going to do, there's no point in commenting and speculating.
Right. So there's no point in getting upset about it before it happens, you mean?
That's right.
Right.
You know, because we
enough.
don't know what they're going to say,
No.
and it's got to still get through the House of Lords and everywhere else first.
Right.
You know, it could be adjusted, so we don't know what it will say.
No, that's fair enough. Thank you.
Right, is there any other? No, you got anything else, Peter, you want to add at the moment?
Well, the other thing was again, I'm going to be a bugbear to Francis here. It's about the village sign and the village seat. They're getting in a shocking condition and nothing seems to be getting done about them. And I've been on about it for nearly a year or more now.
Yeah. The village sign, we were going to be looking into someone doing some work on it, but we ended up with the COVID little issue of COVID-19, which threw everything out of kilter. It's something that as lockdown is now easing, we can start properly looking at again. And I think, Francis, you were dealing with that, forgetting, or was that Mark?
I think it was Mark was going to have a look at getting someone to look at the sign. I'm not sure about the seat, but I know definitely we were looking at the sign, weren't we, to see if we kind of strip it back or paint it.
Probably be a good idea to meet you there, Francis, at some point, to see what extent we want to go to, really. Perhaps I'll arrange that with you next week sometime if we can.
Yeah, we can. I mean, we don't know. I think the thing is, we don't know how much it's going to cost, but it's one of those that there will be money coming in that will pay for a number of things. And certainly the sign was something that's been on the cards to do with the money.
Yeah.
It's just, do we spend the money now because we've got other things that might come up, but the money coming from the development will certainly be put to that. But I'd say, Mark, we can have a look to see whether stripping back would be nice, because then you've got wood, but actually the condition of it may mean that it's got to be kind of patched up and repainted.
Yeah.
But we can look at, you and me can look at that.
Okay.
I think we get quotes.
Just looking at it the other day, the post where it goes into the base looks rotten.
Yes, it does. I must admit on that one. Possibly if it had been done earlier, it could have been patched up, but I don't know whether it's just paintable. I think it'd need a bit of restoration to it, personally, looking at it. And there's two slats on the seat next door to the village sign as well, what are rotten through as well. They need replacing.
Okay. They need to be looked at.
Yeah, we'll check them out when we're up there next week then.
Yeah.
Yeah, certainly the seat is used, because as I was passing today, I saw a couple of cyclists that were off their bikes and sitting on them. So that is you're right, Peter, that is a used seat.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's not.
Yeah.
It's not something what's just there for ornament. People do use it.
Yeah. Well, we've got carpenters in the village, so we can get them. If it can be looked at, we can organise for some quotes to be had for its repair.
Right. Thank you very much.
Okay. But the sign, we need to get some professionals in to have a look at that. So if between Francis and Mark, if they can deal with that, that'd be good. Okay. So anything else, Peter, at the moment?
No, that's fine. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Closing the public session for speaking. So got to mute you now, Peter. Okay. I'm going to update you on the Persimmons Homes application. What we've had is no new comments from Persimmons Homes directly with regard to this application. What they have done is said they're starting to put together a lot of comments, but they're waiting for Norfolk County Council Highways to comment. Now, one of the things that has come to light is that with regard to the shared roads, Norfolk County Council Highways has been failing in its duty. Well, it's not just that one, it's with regard to a number of other organisations as well, South Norfolk Council. I've been in contact with Liz Poole, who's the Major and Estates Development Team Manager, as well as Martin Wilby, who's the county councillor who's in charge of all highway matters. I have copied in Mark Caton into everything, so he's aware of what's been going on, as well as our clerk. And what it basically comes down to, there's a legal requirement for under the Equalities Act 2010, all public authorities have an extra duty to make sure that anything that's proposed complies with the Equalities Act. What they should have been doing was an equality impact assessment on any schemes which would have shared roads in them. If you want copies of the emails, just indicate with a hands up, and I'll send you out a copy of the correspondence so far, so you can actually see. Yeah, Mike, I'll get that to you shortly, so you can actually see. Anyone else? Yeah, Jan. Okay, so I'll get that out to you so you can actually see, because all public sector bodies have this public sector equality duty, and it's been made clear that they haven't followed it, and they're in breach of their code of conduct. So they've also, there's the manual for streets 7.2.10 has been stating that shed surfaces can cause problems for some disabled people. Now, if they haven't been conducting the necessary equalities assessments, the legality of what they're doing with shared roads has to be brought into question. So as I say, I will send the email through to those of you so you can have a better understanding. As I know more, I'll keep you informed, but it is just taking this to the next stage to make sure that they do things correctly for us. So we're just going to wait now for Persimmons to come back to us. They have said that they have started to look at phase 2. They have adjusted the site of the village hall, so it's a 90-degree site rather than this awkward shaped site. But what it does mean is that if we want to put a village hall there, we will not be able to think about supporting the school with car parking. It's just not possible. So the school, we're not obliged to provide the school any car parking either. So, but we are obliged to try and help the village out with things like a new village hall and so on. So the whole design, we couldn't put couldn't put assisted car parking in for it, and because of the shape. But the shape does work very well for a new village hall and gives us the amount of space we need for it. But it does reduce the number of car parking spaces down to 22 plus 3 disabled spaces. But we've also designed in motorcycle parking, and also bike parking as well. And there should be an encouragement in the village for people to walk to the centre. Okay. So that will bring that, if anyone wants that brought up at the next meeting, we can bring that up then. So moving on from that one, there's no more to say about Persimmons. Has anyone got any questions they want to ask me about Persimmons? Nope. Okay, so I'm going to move on to item 7, update with regard to the impact of St Peter's Primary School pupils and Ormiston Victory Academy feeder school. Okay, who's going to start?
Yeah,
Okay,
I
do
don't
you want
mind
me
talking.
to start? You right, Martin? You do want to?
Yeah, I was going to go with the well-worn path of me speaking and you filling in all the hideous gaps that I leave behind, Francis, which seems to be like the way it seems to work.
I thought the opposite was better, but
well, we have a meeting penciled in for August the 11th, alongside the Easton St Peter's Academy Board of Governors. And we're also going to have Norfolk County Council representatives there. It seems like the head of Queen's Hills Primary, Penny Shepherd, it has indicated that she would like to be there as well as a representative of Cossey Town Council. It's obvious that high school places are also a problem around other feeder schools in the area, so it looks like we're getting other parts of the OVA sort of feeder area to join together to voice their dissatisfaction about what is going on. In the meantime, Mary Blaithwaite has shared an email with Francis and I from Ormiston Victory Academy, Naomi Watts, who's the principal there, who has indicated that they are looking to change their admissions policy so that in 2022, Easton St Peter's Academy pupils will have priority over St Michael's. I mean, that hasn't been confirmed as yet, but that is obviously a move in the right direction. But what we really obviously need to do is to make sure that we get some pressure on Norfolk County Council and see if we can get them to push and support Ormiston Victory Academy for 2021. So we're making moves forward. We're hoping that, you know, at least by 2022 that we'll have Easton St Peter's primary pupils in pole position, so to speak, to go to OVA. But we're, you know, obviously negotiations on August 11th will begin, and hopefully we can do something for next year.
Yeah, I mean, all I'd add to that is I've spoken to Margaret, and she's going to join the meeting as well. So Margaret Dewsbury is going to come along to that as well, which I think is handy. Meetings at 6 o'clock. I mean, I don't know if anyone. We at the moment it's a closed meeting, isn't it, Martin? We're not. It's not open to others to enter into it. But I think it's I think it's positive.
I must admit, it is a good positive step forward. I will note a lot of caution, because if we're going to get priority over another school, that other school's going to kick off, as you can imagine. You've also got to look at where are these extra spaces going to come from.
I believe this is borrowing from Naomi Watts's email to Mary Blaithwaite, but they're kind of saying that Norfolk County Council has prevented them from adding extra spaces or for taking extra pupils on. They've also, she stated their disappointment they weren't able to take Eastern pupils this year, and again, I think that's sort of pointed towards Norfolk County Council. What I do know is that it's opening a relatively large can of worms between the two, and it seems like there's some discontent between obviously OVA's position and what Norfolk County Council are looking for them to do. So obviously the 11th of August is going to show some more insight into what they want to do. In terms of upsetting St Michael's or those in Bowthorpe, I think OVA have already upset everyone in Easton and didn't really care too much about that. Their admissions policy is their admissions policy, and they're allowed to do what they so wish with it. So that is entirely up to them. And if St Michael's get slightly upset about that, I mean, obviously I will feel their pain somewhat, but we've already had this problem in Easton for a while. So my rather selfishly, my priority is to make sure that pupils in this village manage to get to the school that's nearest to them. But, you know, negotiations ongoing, and I certainly note your caution, but it's positive early signs. Let's put it that way, Peter.
Yeah, just be very cautious
Yeah.
of that, because it's about spaces. The academies are independent and they can make up their own minds, but one has to be careful of the purse strings on that. For them to say they're blaming Norfolk County Council, it's my understanding with regard to academies, they decide their policies. It's not the county council, but it's nice that they each blame each other. So I think at the meeting, the key thing is for you to do, try and draw out the truth, because the truth will be somewhere in the middle, and that it's more important to get to the truth of it than let them both have their different lines, because they'll just blame each other.
Yeah. Borrowing from Naomi Palmer's email to Mary Blaithwaite, she said the local authority were unable to help give us extra accommodation this year, 2020, For the previous 3 years, we've taken well over our 210 PAN. Last year, we went to 251 to squeeze all of Easton and Queen's Hill's pupils in. We've still gone to 231 on appeals, despite really not having the space. The local authority are, however, trying to get us a new extension built by September 2022. We can go to 300 per group if needed. We're also aiming to change our admissions policy for September 2022, which mean Easton pupils take priority over St Michael's. We take many pupils from St Michael's, but it is also listed as a feeder for City Academy, and it is not usual practice to have two. And that's Naomi Palmer's email.
Yeah, that sounds more positive because they can actually organise that, my understanding of academies, and that would be useful. It will depend on how close some people in Bowthorpe live to the school in distance wise. You may find that is an argued on appeals, but we understood they put in 4 classrooms this year, which was an extra 120 space. Each classroom is 30 pupils, so it's 120 extra spaces, seat bums on seats.
Yeah, we discussed that with Mary and the Eastern St Peter's Board of Governors, and they were under the impression that they built that to help house their existing amount of pupils that they already had, was to help spread what they already had around, rather than to add any extra pupils. That was my understanding. Might have that wrong, Peter, but that was my understanding. I think a more extensive extension, to which what Naomi was pointing to in an email, is required to make sure that we get the right number of pupils in there. But I certainly think getting that done by 2022 is a stretch. I think negotiations or discussions with Norfolk County Council will shed more light on where we're going. But I think the one small positive that we have is that OVA are willing to discuss taking us in, taking Eastern pupils above others.
Yeah.
I think the infighting over extensions and considerable additional pupil space is going to be quite interesting to watch.
Yeah, the key at the moment is you've got your voices starting to be heard. You've got to now make sure that you stay with a loud voice to stay on top of it. That would be the advice I give you on this one. Constantly keep pushing them. Otherwise, they'll just let it drop, because I don't think they'll get an extension. Knowing how buildings take within schools, you're looking at 5 years.
I think key to the discussions going forward are Queen's Hills, who are also hit by this as well. I believe from the discussions with Mary and the Board of Governors from Easton that Queen's Hills is probably the largest primary in Norfolk, I believe. I know it's certainly one of the biggest, and they have quite a voice. So I think having them on our side, as well as perhaps, Barbara and those in some of those in Cossey as well, would be quite useful. So I think the fact that we can now draw more people around us than just our own voice is certainly going to make us more influential. Yeah,
no, that's really good. And hopefully, if, as Peter mentioned earlier, you get the changes with government policy on planning, you may be able to get a school built a bit quicker, or an extension to school built a bit quicker. But there'll be a lot of issues around traffic, because that site has a major issue with traffic at the moment. So I think that will slow it down on the highway side of things. Mark's probably got the experience of putting a child there at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, my two have been there. Well, Ryan will be completing it next year. So I don't know, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Okay. Has anyone else got anything they want to ask of either Francis or Martin? No? Well, thank you for that briefing. It's given us a lot of food for thought. It's an important area that we're getting covered, but well done. So hopefully your meeting on the 11th goes really, really well. And we look forward to the update of that one.
Yeah, it could be a more somber one once Norfolk County will get involved, but we'll wait and see.
We just want to get to the truth. That's the key.
Yeah, we'll
Get to the
give
truth.
it, grant us a lot of good luck on finding the truth, but you know.
Oh, I'm sure you're skilled at that sort of thing. Okay, moving on from that is Francis, playground inspection and annual inspection.
Yeah, just very quickly on this, I've requested the annual inspection. Probably won't be August, maybe start September, which will be within the year, so that's fine. It'll be with the playground inspection company again. Cost will be £202.50, and that was £2.50 more than a local inspection company. But we've used this company in the past, and they're very good. And I think for the familiarity, the extra £2.50 is probably worth it. They do a very comprehensive report with lots of photos in. Just to say what's happened recently is we had our little, was it a pelican, Mark?
Yeah.
Little springy thing anyway. The little springy thing has died, and kindly Mark has made that safe. I think that will pass the inspection okay in terms of safety. That's been smoothed over. We've got the lower gate at Jubilee playing field where the spring has gone. I think you're going to have a look at that, aren't you, Mark, in a week or so, because that obviously needs to be able to automatically shut. That won't pass the inspection. And then the other thing is that one of the bolts on the main swing is it is not unsafe, but as a precaution, I have actually used my big thick bike lock and padlocked the seat to make it unavailable to use today, because the bolt could be tampered with. So it's a very small risk. It would require someone who deliberate act of kind of like sabotage to actually loosen a bolt and make it unsafe. But I'm not risking that one. So I actually personally know Peter, the managing director of the company. I realised who it was, and I know him. So I'm going to I'll get this sorted very quickly. So I expect the seat to be back in working very, very quickly indeed. The other thing, just to say, it's a bit like Peter was mentioning about the seat opposite the sign. There is both the wooden seats in Jubilee playing field. It could deliver splinters to anyone who's sitting on them unless they're well clothed. And they really need sorting out, replacing, or the wood needs replacing. I mean, each year they get worse, but they really are not. They're not good at the moment.
I would
roll on the money from the development so that we can put it into the park and give it a new lease of life. Really.
Yes, I would suggest that you contact possibly Ian Wickham, who's carpenter. He's advertised in the village. He's very good. He's got children who go to Easton St. Peter's and use the park a lot. So he has done other things for the village at very, very reasonable and often no cost.
Yes.
So it would be worth having a chat to him.
Absolutely. I vouch for Ian. He's done, he fixed my mum and dad's memorial bench wonderfully. So yeah, he'd be good. It'd be really good to do that. He'd do a good job.
Okay. Thank you for that, Francis. Now moving on for discussion about the installation of OpenReach community fibre broadband in Easton. We had started looking at fibre broadband, and then COVID-19 sort of put everything out the window for a while. One of the things the village gets at the moment, fibre to cabinet. All the new houses will be getting fibre to property, which means that they can have up to just under a gigabyte of speed. Means that things will work well, but the existing village will still be stuck on fibre to cabinet. Now, OpenReach has what they call a community fibre broadband project, where they will work out costings and so on, because it used to be all the fibre was being dug into the ground and taken that way, but they're now able to put the fibre on the poles, so you don't have to go in the ground, which is a big saving in cost wise. And they've been working out that costs have come down tremendously on that, and the government has got a load of grants out available for properties, residential properties with under 100 meg of speed are able to get about 500 odd pounds, and businesses will be able to get up to about 1,500 pounds. They can apply for all this money, and the idea is that we get a cost for putting fibre to pole for the whole village, and then if people want to connect to it, then they'll be able to do so, and then they'll be able to go. There's so many different plans that they can go on, and cost wise, if you went on to the 150 gig plan, and the difference is these things are guaranteed. If you pay for 150 gig, you get 150 gig. So 150 meg speed. Be nice to get 150 gig, but 150 meg speed, that will be constant. There's no, at the moment we pay for things where it says, you'll get up to, I think mine's 60 megabit. I think if I'm lucky, I get a maximum of 27 megabit. So I never get anywhere close to what I'm actually paying for. Whereas this you do. And I think it's about £3 more expensive than what I would be doing. If you were looking at more intense stuff, you would be, I think it's about £5 more expensive. But if you wanted the full 1 gig download, like Mark will probably want for his son, it's £50 a month, and he gets huge download and huge upload. It's basically the same. So he would be the entrepreneur online.
You can get what you want when he's 18, Peter.
He'll be living at home, mate.
I won't be if that's the case.
I got 24-year-olds still living at home, and 20-year-olds. So we've got this going forward. I had to put in all the addresses for Easton into the scheme. So we need to get an idea of what it will cost to do all the houses, and work out what the government will put in. If the village has to pay a bit, well, we've got lots of receipts will be coming in due course. And we could use those to pay part of it. But until we know a broad part figure, some of the schemes that I've been looking at, basically the government's paid for the whole scheme. There's been nothing that the community has had to put in. But we won't know until we've asked the question. So I put in all the addresses for Easton. Now, what I've got to do is Lower Easton, I've got to do separately. There's some of the houses in Lower Easton are on what you call public land for the telegraph poles, but the majority of them are on private land. So I've been advised to do things as two separate parts to it, because there's some businesses on the other part of the estate which could help pay for that, and plus the estate may want to have gigabyte as well, so they may be willing to contribute towards that. So I've been advised by Openreach to keep them separately. So I've put the initial one in, which was 536 houses. I've just got to do the rest of the houses for Lower Easton under a separate application for the community fibre broadband. All right. Does anyone want to ask any questions at the moment on that? No? Everyone happy?
Well, yeah, Peter, are they going to physically put posts all around the village if we were to go ahead with this then?
No, the posts are there.
Yeah, but there's no telegraph posts in like Buxton Close at all in the minute. Everything's underground at the minute.
Yeah, yours is underground. So all they do is yours will have gone inside ducting.
Right, so that will still be in, they'll pull it through the ducting again?
Yes.
All right, that's okay then.
So all the houses in the older part of the village are on poles.
Yeah,
So that'll go via poles. Whereas
Right.
those houses that have got ducting, it'll just come through the ducting.
right, okay, that's all right. I thought you said that had to be on the poles, that was all.
Well, it's for the, I was talking about the older part. I forgot.
Right, yeah, okay.
Your area was a newer part, and also the College Heights is
Yeah.
all inducting, but everywhere else is on poles.
Right, okay.
David,
Yeah, I'd just like to say that all this talk about gigabytes and 100 megabytes annoys me a bit because I'm only on 2 megabits per second.
yeah, well, this is some.
I was told by OpenReach that it'd be about another 5 years before I'd be upgraded.
What we'll be able to do is, if you're on only 2 megabits, we can get through for the Lower Easton residents up to £1,500 per property towards the cost.
Some Lower Eastern residents have got 30 megabits per second.
Some of them have. That would still count, I think, as £1,500 for part of it. It depends on what the cabinet can provide, and if the cabinet's providing a maximum of 30, then they will sort it out. But once we get the quote for Lower Easton, we'll be able to sort that out.
Lovely, thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? No. Okay. Next one is for discussion, footpath St. Peter's Path, issues over the overgrown footpath. Do we know if it's been done? Because I don't go out these days.
I haven't seen any change.
I haven't been down there, to be honest. I haven't walked that strip.
Okay. Have we had any more complaints about it?
I haven't.
No. Then I think what we do is then leave it. It's in the hands.
It was put on Fix My Street, wasn't it?
Yeah. So it was put into the hands of Norfolk County Council and South Norfolk, and I think that strip is South Norfolk's. So South Norfolk will have to deal with it, and depending on where the trees are or the bushes are will depend if it's on private property or on public land. If it's private property, then it's the owners of the property have to pay for it to be done. If they don't do it, then South Norfolk does the work and then charges them for it. I think that's how it works. Am I right there, Francis?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can give a little update if you want, Peter. I'm on Fix My Street now. It's reported on the 1st of May 2020 by Francis. Pending. Nothing happened.
Okay. So it's up to the person who reports it to on Fix My Street to say if it's been completed. Francis will have been getting reminders. And he's
I've not
nodding,
received anything. They would not, if they've done the work, they would normally ping you something. But I will check it, and then I mean I can always I can just put in a if you like a further question as to when it's going to be done. If it's not
you can put updates on that. Yeah. But make sure it's not been done before you put an update on. I know Up My Street works really well. I was in the vehicle the other day. I spotted someone had dumped 3 freezers on the side of the road, not in our area. I immediately took a picture, sent it through to Up My Street. My phone was able to get the location straight away. 2 days later, when I went past it, it was all gone. That was in Broadland District Council's area, so they reacted very quickly to that one. And that was on a little tiny country lane. So for my sins, my enjoyment now is going right. Don't stop anywhere, just go around little country lanes and just for a drive to get out of the house. Right, so next one is for discussion, return to formal meetings at Easton Village Hall. So we have had an update. We were looking to discuss going back September, but I understand the Village Hall committee don't want it up and running until October.
That's right.
Okay. There are other venues we can get. If people want to go back, we could use the church. If people want to use that, or we may be able to hire rooms down at the college. Depends what people want. There is, I know people prefer the actual physical meeting rather than the Zoom meetings, but it's up to you. This way for discussion. I think, Mark, do you want to lead this one?
Yeah, it was just really to get a sense of opinion from everybody, where we, whether we stay as this or we consider reviewing 2 or 3 months' time. We are in a situation where numbers, unfortunately, are starting to climb again. There's different lockdowns happening across the country. It's probably fair to say that this is a buoyant situation and changes, let alone daily, minutely. But it's really just to gauge people's opinion of where we sit at the moment and what we're all comfortable with.
Okay. Jan, how do you feel about things? You'd have to unmute yourself, Jan. No, you have to unmute.
Unmute. Right.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'd rather have the Zoom meetings myself because I don't feel comfortable going into a crowd at the moment. Not with all this virus about and the numbers going up. I know we are in an area which is very, very low. But that's not just my feeling, actually. And I don't really know what the rules are. The rules are you're not supposed to meet too many people, are you? And what about the meetings? Can we have meetings at the minute? What's the government saying?
Other parish councils are back having meetings now. As long as you take precautions, the government's trying to encourage businesses to get their employees actually back in the offices now. Some parts of the country, there's a lot more caution, but I have been talking with Francis about the safety, and we'd have no problems with social distancing. We'd have no problems with cleanliness. We'd have no problems with making sure that no one comes in with a temperature. We've got the masks, everything, to run a meeting properly without any problems whatsoever. So I'll give my personal view on it, but looking at what's been suggested is more than feasible to do in a safe sort of way. Gillian, how do you feel about it?
I'm kind of happy.
Sorry?
I'm happy with either. Either being at home. I mean, work-wise, I'm probably going to be at home until Christmas. So having Zoom meetings is no problem for me. I would say this going to the village hall. I guess it just depends how quickly the situation changes month to month, how quickly we could swap between Zoom meetings and physical meetings if we had to.
Okay. I think I got most of that. Mike?
I'd prefer to leave it till October and then have a review of where things are. I think I'm with Jan on that. If we don't have to meet, then let's not meet. If there's anything specific that we have to meet for, then let's do it on that score. When there's nothing has gone awry with our meetings as they have been on Zoom, so I don't see any reason to start back.
All right. Okay, Mark, Cordy.
I certainly wouldn't want me in the church or anywhere. I'd leave it till October, and if we can get back in the village hall. But I would be happy, you know, to go back to a physical meeting as soon as possible.
Yeah. Okay, Dave.
I'm quite happy with the Zoom meetings, but like other people have said, I have no problem with going back to a normal meeting at the village hall.
Okay. Martin.
I've only experienced your meetings on Zoom so far, so I'm quite happy with that. I spend most of my business life on Zoom. I'm quite happy to go along with that. I mean, it would be nice to meet some of you in face to face at some point, or mask to face to mask, whatever it is, at some point. But I'm happy to continue on Zoom until everyone feels comfortable to change that.
Yeah. Okay. If I give my opinion, then we'll go to Mark. Peyton. I must admit, I prefer the face-to-face meetings. I think they're a lot better than Zoom. I think you can lose part of your communication in Zoom, because it's not just about the spoken word, it's body language. There's a whole range of things that you miss when you're using Zoom. So my preference would be, whenever we could, to go back to meeting in person. Over to you, Mark.
I think I'm happy to go along the lines of review in October and see how the land lies. I tend to agree with you, Peter. I personally prefer a face-to-face meeting, but I'm wary of what's going on and that sort of thing. So Zoom seems to be working for everyone at the moment, and we'll look at it again in October or for October.
Okay, so the question is, do we want to relook at it next month, or wait until the October meeting to then decide whether we have it in November?
Shall we get to October and discuss it at the October meeting?
Yeah, because that'll be the start of the flu season, won't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Numbers may dictate what happens anyway.
Okay, so we'll look, if we reschedule, Francis, that in for October.
Yeah, okay, we'll leave it a month.
If we're all still around, of course, because the second wave could take us all out.
I love your cheerfulness.
Well, so all the youngsters that are on there, you can still get it just as badly as us older folks, from what I hear. Okay.
Ray of sunshine you are tonight, Peter.
I know. I've already just had 6 days in hospital recently. So, and that was on the so-called COVID ward, the isolation ward, but there were no COVID patients in there. So I had to be isolated. I'm such a trouble to them. Okay, the next thing we've got on the agenda is an update from Francis. Horsford Council's experiences setting up a youth group.
Yeah, okay, so I had a discussion with Angela Makinson, who is one of the key councillors involved with this. The main thing that came out of that discussion was the fact that Horsford did not set up a youth group themselves. They were going to, and then the person who was going to manage a lot of this unfortunately wasn't able to continue. So what they did was they employed the YMCA to run the entire project for them. They make use of their village hall. YMCA come in, they literally manage the whole thing, right down to the the health and safety side. They provide reports to the council on how it's all going. They provide all the kit that's used by the kids, the computers, and then all the soft play stuff. They had up until lockdown, they had 19 kids coming on a Friday. They are now they've now got a weekly summer sort of a day, I suppose, day a week where the kids can use outdoor equipment that the YMCA provide. The cost to the council is 8,755 per annum to run the whole thing, which, although it's a lot of money, from the point of view of the council, it's well spent, because they're actually they've got a lot of SIL money, and they've been using this SIL money to provide that service, and they're going to continue providing it for quite a while. They have a management committee that oversees what the YMCA do. So the YMCA report into the management committee, and they have a couple of the kids actually on that management committee as well. So they're getting direct feedback, not only from YMCA, but also from the kids who attend. And they're very happy with it. Obviously, lockdown has completely messed everything up for them. But so prior to lockdown, they were having these 19 kids a week. The only problem they've really got is the fact that the space in the village hall just isn't big enough, and there are other activities that go on in the hall that just make it difficult for them. But they're very happy with what YMCA have provided at that cost.
Okay, so this is something we actually could look at potentially once we start getting our SIL deliveries coming in, because I think we need to provide something for the young people of this village. I think they've gone far too long without any provision since Norfolk County Council cut youth services and made it almost impossible to run a youth club or youth group yourselves. It's been very difficult, and it's been very unfair on the youngsters, and they congregate, and they, as all youngsters do, and I think we were no different, we mess around a little bit and cause a few angst for the older generation. But I don't think we can actually look at it formally until later on. Now, do they want that? One of the key things is the idea was to look at something which was like a youth council group, or would having a youth group which is feeding into a management group, would that be better than actually just having a youth council?
Is it okay at this point? I'll just bring up a couple of things as well, because after the last meeting, I said I'd look at a more sort of mature scheme. So I've talked to a lady called Julia Fairbrother, who is a youth and community worker who's paid for by this town council. And they've had a youth council running since September 2018. And Julia is sort of one of the driving forces behind it. And basically, the youth councillors are involved in decision making, including the allocation of Section 106 monies after consulting with other local young people. They also regularly represent youth at civic and town events and get involved in local initiatives. They meet monthly, currently on Zoom, obviously, and that monthly meeting is attended by Julia and the mayor and a town councillor. A youth councillor chairs the meetings, and it's not tokenistic, so they actually do some real work. Now that work that they're doing didn't sort of happen by accident. It took this town council one failed attempt at getting a youth council up and running, and 8 months preparation before the second attempt, which is now the one that's been running for 2 years, because they had to think of different ways of making sure that the young person's voices were heard. The first time round, it just didn't amount to anything, and they weren't given any freedom. Julia has said to me that she'd be happy to answer further questions and also come into into a meeting at any point that we wanted to discuss this further. And the other thing as well worth thinking about before going forward is that there is a charity called British Youth Council, and they publish different resource packs on how to set up a parish, town or community youth council, and they also provide assistance over the phone or via email to help you set things up. So basically the best way to do it, how to involve people, the preparation you need to put in. So there are different ways around it. There are different ways of approaching it, but there are people out there who are willing to talk to us a bit more about it before we decide on a direction to take.
That sounds like a really good idea. Thank you for that, Martin. You've done a lot of research as well, and that sounds, we need to look at this British Youth Council, get details from that, and we learn from best practice from the other groups. You know, we need to talk to Julia. We need to look at what they're doing, the groups are doing with the YMCA, how this has actually employed someone directly. This is proportionally an awful lot bigger, so they got a bigger catchment. So we have to see would their model work with the size of our catchment at the moment, but it may work as our catchment grows to take in all the houses, the new housing that's coming our way. So we'd need to look at that. But I think this is something we should start looking at for taking forward. I don't know how people feel about that. If we start going, Mark Caton.
Yeah, I mean, thanks, Martin, firstly, for your research you've done on that. That's all sounding positive. I'll just go back to Francis quickly, if I can, which was through the YMCA. You say they manage everything. So is that the case of all the checks what need doing on personnel, insurances and everything leaving? So like
insurance,
PC, you know, other than a consultee as such, we don't need to take care of anything further.
Exactly. It's completely managed, Mark. It's a completely managed service.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're all checked. I mean, you know, obviously the YMCA staff are all checked, but they will say they will provide reports on how the sessions are going. So they feed back to this this management committee on the work of the, you know, on how the sessions have gone and how the kids have you know, how they've got on, but also in terms of the marketing, they do the marketing to let all the kids know in the village what's going on. Yeah. So it's a complete service that they offer on behalf of well, effectively on behalf of the council. The council are paying for it. Yeah.
So potentially between that and what Martin's discussed, the two aren't totally mutually different, are they? They could be combined.
Yeah. That's the way I'm starting to think of it, that you could have the YMCA, which would be the replacement like what Julia's doing, but the YMCA doing it on our behalf and organising to bring together a youth council as well as the youth activities.
One of my biggest concerns with any form of youth council is, which I think is what Martin is alluding to, lad, you want something more than just talk and no action. Where we are all very used to, you know, a discussion takes place in month 1, in month 2, it's ratified in month 3, something happens. But a youth side of things, they, you know, potentially they'd make a decision on the Tuesday morning and want it done by Tuesday lunchtime. So it's making sure that, you know, we don't lose the interest of the youngsters in the village because of timelines and further discussions, what happened behind the scenes and further down the road, is keeping everything current and active. That is one of my concerns with it.
Yeah, I
working in with YMCA and using a youth group sort of like scenario with other activities keeps everybody engaged in the group anyway, doesn't it?
I think that's right. I think that's the problem Town Council ran into the first time round, is there was no clear direction from things that were talked about to where they wanted to go. So I don't want to talk about things 100 times before they get done, and I'm sure people a lot younger than me don't want to do that either.
Exactly.
So I think once they've got a structure in place, I think that's probably the moral of the story. Whether you get the YMCA to run it or whoever, I think that there needs to be the structure in place so they know what they're talking about, they know what they can do, and they know it will get done. And though youth councils, from what I can tell from some of the British Youth Council stuff, they don't need to have a budget. This have made sure they've got a budget of sorts so that they actually positively do things in the area with the guidance of a town councillor. So, I think that's what we need to think about. I think administration-wise, I think there's some, the YMCA is a great option on the table, but it'd be useful to talk to them or the British Youth Council or whoever to make sure that we understand what they can actually do.
Yeah, absolutely.
And how that fits in with the work of the parish councillor as it is now, because that's what you've got to try and do. You bring the young people in, and it's got to dovetail with the work of this council so that something happens. If not, no one can really, you'll lose the interest immediately and it'll just be a wasted effort.
Yeah. But it's interesting what you said with regards to this, where they're given a budget from S106 monies, because that in itself generates a result. There's your discussion, there's your budget, there's the end product, and that keeps youngsters very much engaged with the actions as well.
Yeah, I mean, and then obviously you've got short and medium term reward there, but long term, as Peter was alluded to earlier, he's going to kill us all off with COVID. You've got to have replacement counsellors coming through. So to give them that early initial positive experience of being able to elicit positive change in their community is the only way that you'll get them want to be involved at this level. If they can't, if their first experiences have not been able to do anything, then you won't have another generation of counsellors. So I think we've got to look at this as a real long-term benefit for the village, because you're going to get the next set of people through.
Yeah, I fully agree with that.
I think also they take ownership. If they do a project, they'll take ownership of that project. And I know from my experiences at school, you get a lot less trouble. You don't get the vandalism, you don't get the problems, because the young people police it because they have ownership of it.
Yeah.
So I think what we need to do is, I think what would be really useful is if we could talk to Julia, because I think she could feed in the sort of things that we need to think about, because it may be that this would sell her services because to bring up their monies, or depends, how it's all done. It could be different organizations, doesn't just have to be the YMCA. So we can look around, but the YMCA has a good track record with young people. But there are other groups that do as well. And I think Julia seems to be a very good starting point to start developing that information. And I understand this took a long time. They took 8 months to make sure they got it right. And that's what we should start doing, is start the process rolling now, so that by the time we can launch it, we've got a good model to work with that will work for our community now, and then have it so that it will progress as our community grows. Jan, have you any comments you want to make on it?
No, I go along with everything that's been said, really. Yes, we do need something for the children of the village. I do agree with that. Other than what's been suggested, I can't think of anything else, really.
Okay. Mike?
I quite agree. I'm quite happy with the YMCA taking over. I mean, being a Sea Scout and then going on to the YMCA and other youth groups in my youth, and the outlets and the things that they encouraged me to go and see and do, and activities, and then the networking around that. I think that it just doesn't then become just Easton. That opens youngsters' eyes to other things, other than what they can just do around the village. So yeah, I'd be more than happy to kickstart with someone like the YMCA.
Okay. Mark?
I think that'd be a good idea to speak to the YMCA and Julia, perhaps on separate occasions.
Yeah.
Different, just to get a feel, so we can get a feel if there's a better one of the two way forward, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good idea. David?
Yeah, I think it's a good idea to start off with somebody like the YMCA. They're professionals and know what they're doing.
Okay. Jill? Julie?
Yeah, no, I'd agree. Getting the professionals in would be an advantage. Because they know what we're doing, and we probably don't, even though they have children. Wouldn't always
Sorry.
get it right.
You keep breaking up. I was sort of getting that you're in agreement with what we're wanting to do.
Positive, yeah. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So I think, unless Martin, do you want to say anything else? No, Mark. I think our next stage is to get either Julia or the YMCA to our next meeting. Just a quick idea. Who would like Julia first?
Happy either way.
Either way, whoever comes, who's ever on board first.
See who's
Yeah, I'm just thinking if you.
Who's available.
Yeah. Okay. So, Martin, could you approach Julia initially? See if we can get Julia first. Then Francis could go to YMCA as our second.
I'll talk to
And
Julia.
work out which one we can actually get to our next meeting.
Well, I'll just ask her availability for the next couple of months. Then between, obviously, Francis and I, we can see which one we can get in first, obviously.
Yeah, no, very grateful for all your efforts on that. I think we take this forward for the young people. They do deserve something out of all with this village. And, you know, to give them a youth council, but also youth activity, that would be really good. Be really nice to see. Okay. So moving on from that, we're going to start looking at planning applications. The first one, I've just got to bring up my documents that I've got saved so that we're going to look at the first one, which is planning application 2020-1150. I've sent to you all a copy of the comments made. Sorry, I've mentioned the wrong one. That was Marlinford. So let me bring up the other one first. Apologies. Oh, where is it? Marlinford Road. But where is Buxton Close? Sorry about this. Oh, there it is. The first one is the Buxton Close, 2020-0762. You were all sent details of what the Easton Planning Group have said, and they made some very key points, but they still feel that it should be refused. And we have to make a decision what we do on this one. We had an extension. We have to decide what we do. So hopefully you've all had time to read that. I don't want to have to read unless people want me to read the whole thing again. I don't see the need, but you all received it. So how do people want to start this with the discussion wise? Mark, do you want to kick this off?
Me?
Yep.
Yeah. I've met with the homeowners at the property last week. I have been through the drawings. I'm aware of the plot. It does fit within the plot. It's not encroaching over the boundary line. It's not going to affect the neighbours in any terms of whether they wish to build a wall, a garden wall, or re-erect a fence or anything like that. If they want to plant a hedge, they're more than welcome to do so on their side of the boundary. As we all know, it's not going to affect anything like that. idea of the proposed extension is to give much needed facilities to the homeowner. There's a desperate need for this, although I have to say it cannot be done disregarding any policies we have or anything like that. Although, in my opinion, everything on that drawing and the proposal meets the requirements of the neighbourhood plan. Anything further to that is up to the authority to make comment on, being South Norfolk.
Okay. So I think the key ones are you've covered the one which was number one, which is the property boundary. 7.5 of the East Neighbourhood Plan, the refuge bins. I take it there will be a shielded area that they can go.
Certainly they can be shielded, although I will make comment that there are other properties on Buxton Close who have no access to the back garden from the front. We do have wheelie bins at the front of their property now.
Yeah, the neighbourhood plan is designed to, as new things come forward, is to change that. So what happened in the past and what was allowed in the past isn't what's to be allowed in the future. So we would look to have 7.5, you know, to
shielding of the wheelie bins is doable.
Yeah, so that would be fine. And then when we look at the 7.3 of the neighbourhood plan, which is the 3 parking spaces, whether it's difficult for people to get in or out, that's not the issue. It's whether there are 3 car parking spaces available. And I take it what you're saying is through the measurements that you've confirmed that there are.
I'm not going to say I've confirmed measurements because at this current time I've not gone to the property with a tape measure and measured the boundary, but working from scale of the drawings, 3 spaces, although tight, are achievable.
Okay.
And when I say tight, it means that, you know, 1 vehicle would potentially, you wouldn't be able to walk around or between 2 vehicles. With that said, that is the driveway is shared with the neighbouring property, and there is no wall or fence splitting the drives. So it means if you did approach the drive and you were vehicle 1 or 2, you could exit the vehicle on both sides, although depending on what way round you parked, one side would be getting out, as they do now, over to the neighbouring driveway.
Okay. Right. So has anyone else got any comments they want to make on this one? Okay. So we've got the comments from the planning group, which is to refuse. Have we got any other alternative that we can offer? Does anyone feel that they can offer any alternative to it?
Can I comment on that?
Yep.
You could accept with conditions.
Okay, so we could accept with conditions, which is the alternative way of doing this rather than refuse it. Because as we know with lots of things now, I think the persimmons had 40 odd conditions attached to them. Our planning applications got loads of conditions attached to it. A lot of planning applications these days are having conditions attached to it. So it's up to yourselves what you would prefer. Mark has entered into the conversation. It's up to, if someone wants to suggest that put a proposal forward rather than the refusal proposal, which I have to put forward on behalf of the Easton Planning Group, to speak up and say they want to accept with conditions. Is there anyone wanting to put that proposal forward?
Yeah, I'd like to accept with the the conditions that Mark said, that we get the bins covered.
Yeah, compliance with 7.5
Yeah, and
and
we need
compliance
to.
with 7.3.
Yes, the car parking issue. Yeah.
Yeah, I think with the boundary issue, that will be sorted out by South Norfolk. So the proposal that Mark's putting forward is the proposal to, let me write this up, proposal to accept with conditions that the plan conforms to Eastern Neighbourhood Plan 7.3 and 7.5.
Yeah.
Okay, so the proposal is to accept with conditions that the plan conforms to EMP 7.3 and 7.5. I'd like to first of all see all those in favour, please, of that. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 4. Okay, that would be a unanimous 5. That's a unanimous on that side.
Oh, was that 4 or 5 in
That's
favour?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 6.
Oh, 6 in favour.
There's 6, and I would have to go down the route. I've only got 1 vote of the Eastern Planning Group.
Okay, so yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
And then Mark is not in this. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. Now, the seconder should be, who was the seconder for that one? That was proposed. Yeah. It was Mike. Mike was the seconder.
Okay.
So I forgot for a second.
Mark Cordy is proposing it. Mike seconding it.
Mike seconded.
1 again.
Yeah. Okay. So there's no need to go to the second vote on that one. Now the next one is with regard to the planning application. Let me bring it up. All right. Is 2020-1150, removal of all dormer windows and build up first floor to new floor height, front and back, replace roof with a shallower pitch. Well, there are 2 real things on here. One, the planning group made comments and were disgusted, and I would like it, and I believe it should be reflected, disgusted in the quality of the plans allowed to be brought forward for this planning application. They missed a lot of detail, and they were very, very poor in their design. I know it was done individually, but they were of a very, very poor condition. Now, the planning group didn't give a decision on it because they felt it was so bad. However, I believe that we can still give a decision on this because it's affecting, and I'll give you the areas that this plan is affecting. It's 2 key areas, which is it's going to alter. I think I would recommend that we refuse this application on the following grounds. It will alter the character of the build form in relation to the street scene, which goes against Eastern Neighbourhood Plan Policy 6 and Policy 8, as well as the NPPF Policy 127, A, B, and C. They have also failed to connect with this under policy NPPF Policy 128. So I don't know, Francis, you need me to go over that?
I've got the details down.
Right. Does Does anyone else want to give any comments to this application?
Yeah, I will, if you don't mind. I mean, I've gone through, I've got it here on the screen in front of me as well, gone through all the drawings which have been provided through the South Norfolk portal there. It's very disappointing with what I've seen. I would make comment on, if you wish to live in a house, you don't buy a chalet. It will dramatically change the street scene of Marlingford Road and Marlingford Way. There are very few front-facing house-style properties. There are some rear-facing house-style, but they're chalets from the front. This will change what is quite a dominant position. The house is in quite a dominant position on the corner of Marlingford Way, Marlingford Road there. The drawings certainly aren't easy to judge what the actual plan is wanting to be, but in my opinion, it should be refused on the street scene and non-compliance with neighbourhood plan.
Okay, anyone else want to make comment before we vote on it? So the proposal is to refuse this application, as it will alter the character of the build form in relation to the street scene and does not comply with Eastern Neighbourhood Plan Policy 6 and Policy 8, as well as the National Planning Policy, MPPF for short, Policy 127 A, B and C, as well as they failed to meet to discuss this matter with us under NPPF Policy 128. And I'd like to put a vote. So I'm proposing that we refuse. Could I have a seconder, please?
I'll second.
Yeah, Mark Caton seconding.
Are you okay on that, Mark? It was only the first one where you've taken yourself out.
Just, yeah, no, none of the others.
Okay, and so I would like a show of hands. Who's in favour of refusing it? It's unanimous. Got unanimous on that.
Yeah.
And can we, Francis, please make sure we do comment with regard to the quality of the plans as well.
Well, I was gonna quote the wording of the planning group piece. They were disgusted.
Yeah.
In the quality of the plans. I was actually going to put that in as a quote.
Yeah.
Direct quote.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm surprised that South Norfolk even allowed it to come to us in such a poor state. Right. Next one is, let me just get up my agenda. Have we had any other applications? Because I checked this evening, there are no other applications. No. There's some works being done to a telegraph pole, but that's on the edge of the village, and that's in a few weeks' time, so it won't affect anyone. So at this stage, I'd like to adjourn for a public consultation. Is there anything, Peter, you want to raise? You'll need to demute. No, you got to demute it. Okay, yeah, we got you, Peter.
Yes, I'd just like to bring up Marlingford Road and the roadworks, what are happening.
Yep.
To the past. There's a lot of rumours going around the village that the post office is going to be closed for the duration of the works. Now, I spoke to Francis about this last week, and he's been in touch with the people that run it from Cossey, and they said possibly it'd just be the 2 weeks of the holiday.
Yeah, can I stop you there? Because there's an area that you might cover which is protected by confidentiality. So if I sort of finish, I think what you were going to say, the post office is likely to be only closed for a period of the time, but not all of the time, because of the roadworks. So once the roadworks have, they can gauge how much access is available, they will try and reopen the post office. I think that's a fair way of putting it, Francis.
Yes, the post office manager is going to review this after 2 weeks.
Yep, that's fine. Okay. Does that satisfy you, Peter?
Well, yes, it's just for the elderly who can't get to a post office, and that's the trouble.
Yes.
But,
unfortunately, this work is needed to be done, and it will improve the lives of everyone using the footpaths in the future.
yeah, and does that affect the hairdressers as well? Do they realise it might affect them?
Yes, they have been informed. I think Francis did mention at another previous meeting where I spoke to the person from Highways dealing with it, and they got a bit of a rocket from me with regard to it. I think that would be a fair one, Francis.
Yeah, I think you shocked him a bit, Peter.
Yeah.
I spoke to him after you, and he did sound, well. Yeah, I think a rocket had probably gone through his office. Something had gone through his office anyway. Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, what they're going to do there is they're going to make sure at all times that people can get to that business. They're going to put down. People may have to wait a few minutes to get access, but they're scheduling it and working very hard with them to sort that out, because it's only a small area that needs to be adjusted so that they can get them access, give people access, where the post office is a slightly larger area.
Right. But I was just, because small business is suffering badly at the moment, and it'd be if they got hit again, after being closed for so long.
Yeah, it has been highlighted, and also there's a barber's there now.
Yes, that's correct.
There, so you want to be plugging that. There is a barber's in the village. So for us who've been using our clippers, there is a barber's that we can actually go to.
He actually cut mine last week, and he done a very good job. So I was well chuffed. And it means he don't go anywhere.
I must admit,
which bit? Which bit?
Thanks very much. I'm catching up with you.
Oh.
And
well, some of us we're keeping quiet.
That's it. And the other, you were talking about hedges, what the council might cut down the passage. End of Ringland Road, right next door to the Easton Hotel, or whatever you'd like to call it.
The Desame.
Yes. The brambles there are growing out over the road and over the path. I just wondered if anybody is responsible for that.
I think that's on Dennis's land. So I think a word with Dennis, Francis.
Dennis who?
Rosenbert. Really nice chap.
Okay. I'll get details from you, Peter, and then I'll write.
He's a really nice guy. He'll sort it out. If it's on his land, he'll sort it out.
But it's this side of the wall, that's the thing. So I don't know whether it is on his land or not.
Well, it'll depend. We'd have to have a look at it. If it's not his land, it'll be Highways.
Right. Fair enough. No, that's me finished for tonight then. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. We're now going to move on to the financial matters. And the key area of the financial matters is we must get this all right, because last year I signed a document the wrong way round, so I've got to make sure I don't do that this year.
Yeah, it was my fault, Peter, not yours.
Okay, so thank you for that.
Before we carry on, can I just say something? I was asked by a parishioner today to bring up the matter of the post office closing. They're under the opinion that it's going to be closed for the whole 6 weeks. Can you put on the website to say that it's under review? Because apparently they're very worried about getting their money and to go and pay their bills at the post office because they can't get down to the.
Well, we can put it up on the website that it will be reviewed. But it should be on the post office. I think the post office sign saying it's going to be reviewed.
Yeah.
Oh, Peter, I was just asked to bring this up tonight.
Yeah.
With you.
Yeah, it is going to be, they are going to review it. And I'm sure he'll open it as soon as he can because it's profit.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So I think, Francis, could you have a word with them to say, put a note that they are going to review it?
Yeah, we'll do.
Within the window.
I will have a word as well, Peter, because I saw a note on the door which I wasn't happy with in relation to why the post office was closed. I'm not. I will talk to Lucky about the note that was actually put on. I don't know. I presume he put it on there. So I will definitely speak to him about that, and then we'll get him to update that, and then also to say, because he told me he would be reviewing it on the whichever Saturday. It's 2 weeks Saturday.
No problems. So I think if you can just liaise and we get the right message put up.
Yeah.
And put out there. And then Francis, if you can let me know what wording that Lucky wants to use, that we'll put up on the website.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, let's move on to item 15, financial matters. So Francis, I'm going to hand over to you so that you can get this right.
Yeah. Last year, we basically, as the council, we have to sign the annual governance statement, and we have to sign off the accounts. So there's section 1 and section 2, and you have to get this in the obvious order, which is section 1 followed by section 2, or you get a rap over the knuckles, which is what I got last year because I got Peter to sign section 2 before section 1. Those are the rules, and if you don't follow the rules, you get rap over the knuckles. So the annual governance statement is something that the whole council is responsible for, and then if we're all happy, Peter will sign, and then I will sign as well, and then we have to make reference to the minute note at which the approval was given by the members of the council that they're happy. I mean, everyone has a copy of this, so I mean, I could read through it, but basically the idea is if we're all happy, then there are basically 8 ticks, and then there's one at the bottom, number 9, which is not applicable because we don't have trust funds. Do you want me to go through each one, Peter, in turn?
No, I just need to go. Number 1, do you want me to tick yes or no? We agree. We have put in place arrangements for effective financial management. I would say yes, we have. We maintained an adequate system for internal control. I believe yes, we have. We took all reasonable steps to assure ourselves that there are no matters of actual potential non-compliance. Yes. We provide proper opportunity during the year for the exercise of electors' rights. Yep. We had people tonight. Yep. We carried out an assessment of the risks facing the authority. We did that.
Yep.
We maintained throughout the year an adequate and effective system. Yes, we did that. We did regular internal audits. Yep. We took appropriate action on all matters raised in reports.
Yep.
Which has been highlighted where we only had one thing, and that was we signed these the wrong way around. We considered whether any litigation, liabilities, comments, events, transactions occurred either during. Yep, we've considered all of those. For local councils only, we don't have, not applicable. Francis?
Yep.
Not applicable?
Yep, that's not applicable.
Okay, so the date of today is, I'm signing this as the 3rd of the 8th, 2020. And the minute reference is what, Francis?
The minute reference for this one is 15.1.
Okay, so do we put the date?
Yeah, today.
So I put today's date and 15.1.
Yeah.
Okay, so today's date is the 3rd. And the reference is 15.1. Okay, and I now sign. Do I have to be inside the box?
Yeah, that'll do. As long as it's mainly inside the box.
Yeah, I'm inside the box. And then I have signed my copy, and hopefully you can see my signature.
Yeah.
Yeah, signed on that. So you've signed your version.
Yeah.
Tomorrow you'll come to mine and collect mine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okie doke. Moving on, Francis.
So the next statement is it's section 2, accounting statements for 2019-20. So we looked at these figures back in, I think it was about May time now.
Yeah.
And those figures have been reconciled and reviewed. But we need to sign this statement after signing section 1. So now we've signed section 1. It's fine, Peter, to go and sign section 2 unless someone's not happy
Did
with
we
it.
have to, the question is, did we have to vote before we sign any of these?
I don't, in terms of a resolution, in terms of resolution, last year we didn't do that, and I didn't get held up over saying,
Okay,
we had
that's fair enough.
so many for and against. I think
That's
if
fine.
the note just says the meeting's agreed in full, unless anyone has an objection to it.
Has anyone got any objections?
No.
No, all right, that's fine. So you sign the left-hand side, yeah?
Yeah.
I put in confirmed that the accounting statements were approved. And the accounting statements were approved by the authority on today's date. Everyone, well, we will vote on this one. Is everyone happy with the accounting statements that were sent through to you?
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Yeah, everyone's happy with them. So that was today's date. And that is the 3rd, 03/08/2020. And the minute reference is 15.2, isn't it?
That's right.
And I just sign. And I have just signed the document, if you can see.
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay. So I've done that. Francis will come round tomorrow and pick up those documents for going to our internal auditor. Okay, so moving on. Next one is to approve the payment. The payments of this actually should read 15.3.
Yeah, I've got the wrong numbers.
Yeah.
So all those 14. So basically, it's under 15 financial matters.
Yeah.
So
So
they're all under
it would be 15.3. So I'm just highlighting that because this is a recorded meeting.
Yeah.
It's 15.3 approved payments for July and August. Both Mark and I have seen the payments and we're happy with them and we approved them for that, which is under our delegated powers. Okay, you happy with that, Francis?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Now, the next one is 15.4, approve for a dog bin. And I haven't found anywhere where we're approving a dog bin.
No, this was actually well, it's a dog bin, but not in name.
No,
Peter.
it's not a dog bin. It's a general bin, general
Right.
waste bin. It's not a dog bin. It's a general waste bin.
It was a £65 bin,
Yeah,
wasn't it? Yeah.
it's a general waste bin, not a dog bin. So can you minute the correction that we're approving
That
a
it's not a
general
dog
bin and it was a mistake to put a dog bin?
Yeah.
And that will be put up. Is that the one to be put up down by on Bulber Road?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this it's a general waste bin put down on Bulber Road. Okay. What I need to do is get a proposer for that one.
Yep.
Seconder is be myself. All in favour of this general dog bin? Yeah, unanimous. Okay.
General waste bin, Peter.
Sorry?
General waste bin.
Yeah,
General
general
waste,
waste. General waste bin.
Slip of the tongue.
Yeah. Because it's sitting on here. Okay. The final bit of section 15 is 15.5 financial reserves position, July 2020. Francis.
Okay, so basically, I'll send this statement out. The position we stand as of today is we have £51,564 in the bank. 38,620 of that is for earmarked funds, and we have spent 4,500 so far this year against the earmarked fund for New Village Hall, and that's in relation to the fees that we've had to pay out.
Yeah.
I still haven't got this money back from HMRC, the black hole of lockdown. We will get the money because we do get the VAT money. When we get the VAT money in, our reserves go up to £15,317, and that will, at the moment, allow us to cover the money to ASBAG for the neighbourhood plan costs in relation to ASBAG supporting us in relation to the work to do with Persimmon mainly.
Yeah.
Once that comes out, I'm forecasting that by the end of the year, we will have an increase of £792. That's just me forecasting spent at the end of the year. So if you take 2,200 out of the 15, leaving about 13,000, on top of that, I think we'll at least break even. And because there's some things we haven't been paying for, things like village hall fees, costs relating to me not having to drive around so much, etc., will probably be under budget slightly. So that's the position at the moment. We are awaiting, obviously, a whole lot of money coming in, hopefully from the development. But as things stand, that is the position in our kind of post-COVID lockdown financial state.
Anyone got any questions to Francis on our financial reserves?
No.
No. Okay, so moving on to item 16, correspondence received and responses or actions required. Anything? Francis, you got anything new?
I mean, we've covered most of, there's been most of everything. I mean, the Joe Tubby stuff to do with we've covered all that. So I haven't got anything on top.
Excellent. Okay, moving on to item 17, to raise agenda items for the next meeting. I think we have the usual suspects on the list. Is there anything else people want to add? Because we'll hopefully either have Julia or maybe YMCA at the next meeting if we can get them.
Would there be any news about Durham Road site?
Hopefully, yes.
Maybe.
I'll give very quickly because it's not on the agenda, but I'll very quickly explain what's happened there. Because we went through a financial year, Homes England have to do a reapproval. There is, you know, it's gone through all of orbit. They just want to get on with it, but Homes England have to tick the final box to say, yeah, start now, and then we can get it all moving forward. So we're just waiting on Homes England for that final, and that's before the end. They reckon that'll be before the end of the month. So it could come through tomorrow. It could come through next week. They're hoping before the end of the month. Okay, so we'll put that on the agenda anyway for updates. I think that's everything. If you want to add anything onto the agenda, just please let Francis or myself know, and we'll put out a draft agenda, and then you can add stuff on there as well, and just let us know. I'd like to thank you all for your attendance at tonight's meeting. It's 9:17, and at this stage, I'd like to close the meeting. I think, Francis, you will have to close the meeting because I've given you the rights on this.
Yep, I've got a big red end button, so I'm going to press that and we'll see what happens. Sure.
End, yes,
Yeah,
end session.